Good morning, ESK Middle School. Thank you, thank you. So instead of our usual chapel today, we are truly honored to welcome a wonderful guest to be with us. And I'll let someone else introduce her, but in the meantime, I am encouraging each and every one of you to remember my advice yesterday, which is to clear your mind and center your bodies and pay attention. Listen to her story. Anya has a powerful witness to share with you all today, and I know that you will represent ESK well by giving her your full attention. Thank you all. Thank you, Larry.
Thank you. I'm Larry Leibowitz, chair of the Tennessee Holocaust Education Commission. My day job is being a country lawyer here in Knoxville, which I've done for about 52 years. But the most satisfying thing I've done is to work with the commission and our staff in bringing speakers and educational materials concerning the Holocaust to students across the state. The commission was founded in 1984 by the Tennessee legislature. It is a state agency, independent of any other agency, but attached to the executive branch of government. Our funding is largely appropriations from the state, and I want to give a quick thank you shout out to our legislative leaders and governor for continuing the strong support the state has shown us over the years. Annually, we reach thousands of students across the state. Most of our speakers are survivors, although that cohort is aging out. Liberators, some of our founding commissioners were American GIs that walked into concentration camps, and what they saw actually changed their lives. Refugees, second generation folks whose parents or grandparents were survivors, and witnesses to the mass murder, like Father Patrick Dubois, who we had a few weeks ago in Nashville, who's a Parisian priest, who's made it his life's work to ferret out the killing fields of Eastern Europe. I want to thank you for being here, and thank you for inviting us to make a presentation. Today, the speaker is Anya Bloom, who was a refugee, but not in the sense of coming to New York and being an American during and after the war. Her story is one of survival. People will survive if given even a half of a fighting chance. And the story of her family is really instructive. So without anything further, I want to introduce Ms. Anya Bloom.
Okay, everybody knows a little bit about me. I'm a Holocaust survivor. I was born in Russia, Belarus, and should I tell you the age that I am? 93. I'm 93 years old. I still came to you kids to talk about Holocaust because everybody has to know about it, because you never know what could happen in life. So everybody has to be prepared for a lot of things in life. But thank God you live in a beautiful country. And I'm fortunate to live in a beautiful country now too. Because sorry, better this, I know.
I'm going to take that one. Hold on. Testing.
And then you give me this one to take up. I don't know how to do it.
Perfect. You're good. This one.
Okay. This is better now? Yeah, okay. and I feel better too with that. So anyway, I was born in Belarus, and in 1941, we had an announcement on the radio that the Germans are coming in to attack our city, Slutsk. I was from Slutsk. It was very prestigious, very elegant, nice merchants. A lot of Jewish people were there, all professional people. Life was not bad. Me, my father, my mother, my brother. I mean, my father was, he wasn't from the professional people like my uncles. But anyway, he heard that my mother had two sisters came for vacation to our town. They were always coming for summertime, and they stayed by us all the time. One was a very educated woman. She was an opera singer. And when she heard that the Germans are coming, when they were there, she said to my mother's name was Raya, Raya, we have to run. My mother said, to run where? She said, we have to run from the Germans. My mother said, I'm not going nowhere. So my father said, listen to Lisa, because she knows what she's talking. You have to run. So my mother said, okay, so you come with us. He was already wounded in the head from a shrapnel from the bombs. He said, I cannot go. I'm in the army already, and if I'm going to go with you, the Russian people would find me, they would kill me anyway. So anyway, we took, and my uncle, he was like a mayor of the city of Slutsk. Everybody was begging, everybody, anything they wanted it, they came to him. He was a banker too. And he died in 1938. He was always dressed beautiful, like a banker. So when he died, his wife gave a coat to my father that it's very gorgeous with fur, with everything. And we were running. My brother had a brother named Sam. He took that coat. That's all we took by running. He grabbed that coat. And it's a story of that coat now. So anyway, we're running. And when we went on the highway, running, we were running about 20 kilometers, and we couldn't run anymore because the two sisters, one had a child and the other one 2 children, and my mother had 2 children, and we just couldn't run anymore. So we saw trucks, military trucks, Russian trucks running away from the Germans. They too, with rifles and everything. So anyway, they running away too. We're running, and we couldn't do it anymore. So my mother's sister, she was a wife of a general in the army, the Russian army. She had a little book, and she stood in the middle of the highway, and she put a little red book on like this, and they had to stop for her because they knew right away that she's a wife of an important person. They stopped and said, what do you want? She said, we cannot run anymore. You have to take us. He said, we have no place. Look at that. All the trucks full of soldiers. You have to take us. We have no. They said, okay, we're going to take you and the 2 children. But the sisters we cannot take. She said, if you're not going to take the sisters, we're not going, I'm not going to. So anyway, they pushed us in the truck. My brother held the coat, but he lost a shoe. So he has no shoes now, which we didn't have shoes anyway. So anyway, we came into a place, Babruisk. The announcement, you have to go to the shelters because there are 3,300 planes are flying in to bomb Babruisk. So everybody has to be in the shelter. So anyway, it was not only us, it was about maybe 500 people. So anyway, everybody's running to the shelters, and then they call us up. They call us up in about, a little while, about a half an hour or something. And they said, now you can come out from the shelters because the German planes flew away. When we came out of the shelters, the whole Bobruisk was full of fire, and they said it was waiting for us, waiting for us a cattle train. You know, the cattle train for the horses, the cows, you know, that brown little, no door, just one sliding door. It was about 40 cattle trains, 40 or 50 waiting for us. It was about maybe 500 people. Everybody's running to the cattle train, and when everybody running to the cattle train, and some people didn't know where they were, but anyway, went to the cattle train is moving on. We're moving on. Excuse me. No water, no food, nothing at all. For days, we're running. My brother swelled up for hunger. He was hungry. I was hungry. Everybody was hungry. But he swelled up. We stopped in a place, in a village, and the people from the village saw that my brother swelled up. They brought a bottle of milk and a piece of bread. And they said to my mother, give it to your son because he's swollen. So my mother gave it to him. I said, what about me? She said, but you're not swollen. So she said, he has to eat it. So anyway, I have no food again. We continue driving again to the cattle train. Then suddenly, they stopped the cattle train, and they said, everybody out of the cattle train because they're attacking the cattle train, the German planes. And what happened, everybody ran out of the ditches, and they attacked the two cattle trains. The end of it, they were destroyed on fire. So everybody back to the train, and we're coming to a little village on the fourth day. But I went in when we stopped. I didn't have no water, nothing. So the locomotive, it goes on coals, and they let out water. So I went to the locomotive, I opened a little there, and I was putting a little water in my hand, and I was zipping a little water. That was my fourth day, just have a little water from the locomotive. Not just me, a few other people. We're coming into the village, and people say to my mother, where is your horns? My mother said, what do you mean? What are you talking about horn? Jewish people have horns. My mother said, we are people like you are. We're just different religion. We have no horns. Anyway, they took us to a cafeteria. The cafeteria, they were standing in line, so many people. They gave us a little plate, and they gave the cafeteria, it was a little water with some rice floating around. That's all. That was the soup that they gave us with one small little piece of bread. So anyway, we were happy to have that. Every day we're supposed to go to cafeteria and have that little water with a little rice, you know, and, you know, that hard life has to go on. But then my brother and my mother, we decided, then my brother said, Ma, I have to go to work, but I cannot go with one little piece of bread and a little water. He said, I want a small piece of bread more. So my mother said, and they gave us a piece of bread, like a pound, for 3 people for a whole week. And my mother said, if we're going to eat the bread, what are we going to have it next days? He started to cry. So my mother said, you know what? Eat up the bread. You and Anya eat up the bread. We'll see what God's going to give us. So it was a girl that she was deaf. She couldn't hear nothing. It's like me. But I have hearing aids. Those days she didn't have that. So anyway, so I started to play with her. When I started to play with her, she was so happy because she had no children that didn't want to play with her. So anyway, she gave me, when the parents went away, she gave me a little flower, at least, so, and I brought it home, so we had a little food to eat. My mother went to the field to work, and here, she was working a field of potatoes, so she used to put it in, stealing potatoes. She used to, so life was not bad. And we had a little, tiny, tiny little room. My brother slept on the straw, on the floor, covered with newspapers. My mother with me was slept on a bed, a cot bag, like the military people, covered with that coat. That's why I said it's very important, that coat. So to bring my mother in, my mother went again to the field, and suddenly a horse and buggy brings my mother coming around white from the mouth. And she doesn't talk. She's like that. And I said to myself and to my brother, oh my God, look what's going to happen to my mother, to our mother. I said to him, listen, they brought her in, they put her in the bed. She doesn't respond at all. I said to my brother, run fast, go get a doctor, because if mother gonna die, what are we gonna do without a mother? We're gonna be two of us, we're gonna die. So he said, oh, okay. He went to look for a doctor. I went outside, it was cold. I didn't have no clothes. I lost everything, the clothes, everything, and I walked out outside. It was a little window there. I stood on my knees. I put my hand together. I didn't know what to pray. I never knew anything. I didn't even know I was Jewish for a long time, because they could not practice Judaism in Russia, and not even churches, not allowed. So it was communism. So anyway, I put my hand together, and I was sitting there for about 20 minutes. And when I came back, my mother is sitting on the bed. And I said, Ma, you were sick. What are you doing? She said, where are you? I said, Ma, you were very sick. Where is Sam, my brother? I said, he went to see for a doctor. You silly cats. Why are you doing that? I'm okay. Just a miracle happened. Then suddenly, I got sick. I got sick of typhus because I had all my hair was full of lice. I was beaten up with lice. I shake my head like that, and the lice was falling on the floor. And my mother didn't know what to do. She took gasoline, and she washed my hair with gasoline. And it was burning. But at least she killed some of the flies, the lice. So anyway, so they said, when suddenly I got fever, and I'm, grabbed me to the hospital, and they shaved my head, and they said I have typhus. So my mother was not allowed to go into the hospital. On the 14th day, if the typhus, with the 14 days, if the fever not dropping, then I'm dying. So my mother do that. The fever was constant there. So I had an uncle in Moscow. He was very prestigious, rich man. And my mother wrote a letter to him that he should try to help us. But she didn't write a letter to him, because he was a very big person in Moscow, in Kremlin, with Stalin. So she wrote a letter to somebody else in Kremlin to get in touch with Grisha, that was my uncle. And why he was there working in Kremlin, because on his passport, it was a Russian name. My name was Russian. It was Bogusheva. And that means they put him on the passport that he's a Russian citizen, not Jewish, because they didn't know he was Jewish, like I didn't know he was Jewish. So that's why he worked in Kremlin. But anyway, my mother wrote a letter to my uncle through somebody else. He got a letter suddenly in the village. Flowers coming in, wood are coming in, a parcel, a big parcel. And my mother opened the parcel, and the parcel is a pair of little shoes for me. I had to wear because my head was shaved, and material for a dress. I did that. I was wearing ratty clothes. So anyway, my mother took all these things. She went in the hospital, under the window, and showed me the little shoes. And she showed me the dress, and she showed me that I'm gonna wear the little hat. And the will of just looking at it, because I was looking like that at her, the will just that I'm gonna wear my shoes, and I'm gonna wear someday my beautiful dress and a hat. And I was so wanted to leave because I wanted to wear it one day. And my fever dropped. And the doctor comes in on the 14th day, he says, I never heard something like that. He said, you were so sick, suddenly you have no fever. Anyway, he said to my mom, you can take her home, she's okay. So this is miracles that happen. I don't know. I always knew that there was a God, but I don't know who he was and what he was, but I heard about it. But so anyway, so my fever dropped. I came out, my mother gave me to wear the hat, the little shoes, and she made for me a dress. Then suddenly, but I needed just not the little shoes. I needed something in the wintertime, not the little. So anyway, my mother was working in a hospital as a nurse for wounded soldiers from Stalingrad. They used to bring the soldiers in, and when they died, my mother took the shoes off from the dead soldier and the coat, and she brought it for me, and she brought it for my brother, and she was wearing too, all from the dead soldiers. And then I can do it more. They said 40 minutes. Anyway, they said it's a short time for me. But anyway, so my mother brought me. So I didn't even have a scissor to cut at the coat, but it was all right. I was wearing it, and I was happy about it, and So then, my mother decided to go back to Russia, to Belarus, to see where my father is, where my family is. So anyway, we're coming back to Slutsk, and we have people there that we knew from a long time. And my mother went to see them, and they said, Raya, I'm sorry to tell you, but your husband, the German killed him. She said, how could they kill? He was such a good man. He wouldn't kill a fly. He said, yes, they killed him with 8,000 Jews. They told him to get out. They took him to the woods, to the field. They tell him to get undressed, completely get undressed, and dig their own grave. So they were working with this thing to dig it naked. Then they would bring about how many people, and they were shooting them. They fell on in the ditches, and we had a doggy. It was always with my father. The doggy jumped in on my father. Then they took other people. They shoot the other people, so they killed that day 8,000 people. So anyway, that my mother wants to know what happened to her brother. He was engineer of electric station, and the guerrillas, the partisans, came in, and they said, "Listen, we're going to explode the electric station. You better come with us, because you don't know what the German could do to you." He said, "The Germans, they love me. They wouldn't do anything to me." He said, "We were asking you, come to the partisans with that, the guerrillas." He said, "I'm not going." They exploded the electric station. They came to my uncle and they said, "What did you do?" He said, "I didn't do nothing." He said, "Yes, you did. You exploded like the station." He said, "I wouldn't do that." He said, "Where is your family?" I said, "They're all home. Bring them here." They took them in the field. In front of the parents, they killed the 2 children first. Then they took the wife, and they killed the wife in front of him. And then they killed him. That it was end of my family, of this one. Then I had a grandfather. The grandfather was a violin player. He spoke 9 languages. He was a very prestigious man. He was teaching people in conservatorium, even in New York, in Connecticut. And anyway, my mother said, she found out, they said he was playing for the Germans because they had a party with the wives. He was playing for them. And then when they told him, "You can go. You finished. You don't have to play anymore." One German soldier grabbed him and he cut his fingers off and he killed him. He killed him with the boots. He cut the fingers off, you know. And then they went to my grandmother. My grandmother was a very religious Jewish lady. She was very not educated, but very religious, nice, you know. So anyway, they came to the house and they killed her with the boots. And that was the end of my family. So anyway, that's the story of my family that got killed. So I remind myself with my brother and my mother. But when we came to Slutsky, they took my brother to the army because he was already 16 years old. I was with my mother. She met a partisan man, and she got married to him. But then we went out of Russia to Poland, and then he had sisters in America. We tried to get in America, and I'm going to tell you, I have only a few seconds left. My story is, you can sit for hours and listen to that. I made it very fast, but I'm going to tell you something. You kids are very lucky. Beautiful country. You better be good to the parents, because without parents, I was raised without parents. By myself. And I had to work, and I became a professional, street smart person. I became a designer of one-of-a-kind jackets. I was a makeup artist. I was an art dealer. I did so many things in my life. Like the jacket Diana Rose had one, Prince had one of my jackets. The makeup I was doing for Princess of India and all the other actresses in New York. So, but be without parents. I wish I would have my father right now in front of me to give him a big hug. And you know what, kids? Hug each other. A hug a day takes the problems away. Believe me, tell your parent that you love him every day, because what are you going to do without parents, God forbid? Parents is very important. They're trying to teach you the best. The teachers trying to, you should be educated. Listen to the teachers. Listen to it, because life is very unpredicted. So be good to your parents, hug them, kiss them, and love them. Okay? That's it.
Stay here. Stay here a minute. We're gonna question. Thank you. Thank you, Miss Anna, for giving us your story. Do we have any questions? This is a silent crew. Yes, ma'am.
How old were you when this happened to you?
How old I was?
How old were you?
I was 10 and a half years old. but the worst at it. And I worked all my life. Since 10 and a half till now, I'm still working. And I love working. Working makes you younger, makes you feel good, and stay away from problems.
How long was like the time period before you ran away and like when all your family was
I
killed?
don't do that.
How long was it till you ran away from your family?
When I run away,
Could you repeat the question?
How long was the time period between when you ran away and when all your family was killed?
When you ran away and then you came back and your family was all killed, how long a period were you gone?
oh, it was the whole war. I was the war started in 1941. And we came back in 1945 to our town. So it was a couple of years. I thought my father was alive. I said, never, they're going to kill my father because he was such a good man. When we came, everybody was still there. And another thing, when I came back, for a second you say, I came back to my town and they took 2,000 Jews in a ghetto and they put gasoline on and they burned them all alive. So that was my friends, some of the relatives, and the other. They killed so many more people in our town.
She was gone for a good bit of the war, but when she came back, everybody she knew was dead.
Do you have a lot of like PTSD after how bad that event was?
Say again, please.
Do you have a lot of PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder about like what happened? Because that's like really scary.
Do you know what PTSD is?
No.
Do you have nightmares or things that make you feel bad because of the experiences you've had?
I have nightmares sometimes, and I'm depressed sometimes, but I'm trying to think right away good things that had happened in my life, good things. So I'm trying to push away the bad things. Whenever I have that kind of a feeling that I'm depressed because of that, I try to think about good things. And you know, I'm a positive person, and I love people, and I have a lot of friends, but family is still family. You know, friends are wonderful, but family, a father and a mother, it's just heaven and earth.
Other questions?
So, through your time and your experience with this hatred and widespread, just general hatred, how has that changed your views on humanity and the act of the human heart? How do you believe that people, how they tend to act, and how do you believe that we should act in order to fix ourselves and make a better world?
How has the hatred you have experienced changed your view of the world, and what do you think we can do to make the world better?
You know what I'm going to tell you? I don't hate nobody. I don't even hate the Germans, because not every German were bad. Because if they're going to tell them, you have to take that Jew and kill him, if he's not going to do it, they're going to kill him. So you see, the Schindler List, how many people he saved because of his life. They could kill him, but he said he saved the Jews. So I don't hate. I don't hate nobody. I like to be friendly with everybody. I like to love everybody. So I don't hate anybody. And you should hate. Bullying is the worst thing. If somebody wants to bully out and say, you this and this and this, and I was very tough in school, only grades I finished. If somebody pulls you out, just stand in front of him, you smile, just look at him and walk away. And you'll see he's going to be your best friend.
What
was the scariest part of the war?
The most serious part?
I think the scariest part.
Scary. What was the scariest part of the war for you? When were you the most afraid?
Well, I'm going to tell you, I didn't tell you that. I was in the field collecting straw to heat the oven, and here is flying one plane. And the plane, I saw it, he gonna bomb. He had bombs there, and I'm in the field, and suddenly I see the plane is dropping a bomb right near me when I was in the field. And the bomb fell like near the end of the wall with a big hole. And I was been taught in school, whenever something like that, spread your feet, and the shrapnel fell in right in my leg. And I wanted to show my mother what happened. So I put in my apron that shrapnel and burned down a hole, because I was a kid, what do I know? But my mother started to run. I said, "Ma, I'm alive, I'm alive." So I experienced that one. That was a scary one. I almost was dead from that bomb.
Another question?
Did you ever almost get caught by the Germans in any situation?
Did you almost get caught by the Germans at any point?
No. I wasn't. I've seen them. I was we were 20 kilometers away from the Germans. I heard bombing, I heard shooting, I had everything, and I did see some Germans running away, but I wasn't caught by them, no.
Before all this happened, how was your life at home with your family?
How was your life at home before the war?
Before the war, I'm gonna tell you something. Before the war, we were poor, but it was fine. You have your parents, you have your friends, you have your family. So we had a piece of bread for lunch with a little butter with sugar on top. Okay, no shoes. So I collected some bottles from vodka, the Russian used to drink a lot. I collected the bottle. I gave it to the store. I got 5 cents for a bottle, and I collected some money, and I gave my mother to buy me a pair of shoes because I didn't want to go barefoot to the school. So she bought me a pair of shoes. The life was all right. My father used to bring me every Friday a donut, a roll, just a piece of bread, a roll, shared with my brother. Poor, but you know what? But it was fine. We loved each other. Everything was wonderful. We didn't know nothing but things, but till the German came, that's what happened.
Like right after the war, how did you feel?
After the war, how I felt, not so good, because I was in a display camp that for 4 years there were, the Allies, the American people were helping us with food and everything. I was trying to have a profession. I was trying to learn something. I was getting to be a seamstress, which I hated, because when I was in Canada, living in Canada, I worked 60 hours for $16. That's how they were using me. And the sewing machine came in with all kind of attachment, and they put me there because I was the best one to show other people how to use the machines. And they gave me only $16 a week.
You have to remember that during the period of the war...
Considering your history and perspective, what do you find most concerning about the world today?
What do you find most concerning about the world today?
What?
What do you find most concerning about the world today?
Well, I'm going to tell you something. We live not in a perfect world right now because things what's going on in the world. But we have to make the best of it. I mean, we have to try to do the best of it. Children still have to go to school, which they do. People have to work. They make good livings. We live in a beautiful, beautiful world like America, and I'm very proud to be one of them, American person.
I'm getting my steps in today.
So, have you, if you've met any other survivors of the Holocaust, are any of their stories somewhat similar to yours?
Or other survivor stories similar to yours? You've met other survivors.
Yeah.
What were their stories?
You see, the other survivors, it was a different story with them. They went to school here. They had family. They got educated. I didn't have a chance to go to school here. I just didn't. I wanted so much, but I had to work because I had a family in Russia remained. So I had to help them. My brother was, I didn't know, but my brother was for 22 years, but when I found him, I had to help him. But here, the Holocaust people got very educated, a lot of them, and because I said they had family, I didn't have nobody. I had to help other people. Whatever I made, whatever I did, I had to help them. But they are okay. They're professional, the doctors, the lawyers, professional people, a lot of them, very educated. But
one of the things that you need to understand is that Miss Anya did not have the luxury of an education, and what you all have is a priceless gift of being able to be educated. And that's essentially what she was just saying. Yes, son?
How did you feel about not being able to practice your faith?
How do you feel about not being able to practice your faith during the war?
I didn't know I was even Jewish for a long time. Only when we ran away in Stalingrad, when they said with the horns, "Where are your horns?" Then I found out I was Jewish. I didn't know that. And with me, I didn't practice Judaism because I didn't know with whom and what. But I still go to the synagogue sometimes just to meet people, just to listen, to say a prayer for my family that died. So I go sometime, and they do a lot of things for me too, because I'm a Holocaust survivor. They did. Not now, but they did a lot of things helping out. But I've always been jealous for people school people like you. I never been a teenager. I didn't know what a teenager is supposed to do, because that's all I had to do is work, support my family, my few family that's left. And so I never knew how to be a teenager. So you're lucky. You go, you have parties, proms and things like that. I never knew anything. So.
When did you come to the United States?
When did you come to the United States?
I came to the United States in 1967.
What has been the best part about teaching kids, about your experiences?
What's the best part about speaking to children, school children?
The best part, I love to do that, because I just remind myself that I wasn't fortunate enough to be a teenager and the war started, I was 10 and a half years old, and I just love to talk to children. I was in a school, you see. I'm wearing with proud a shirt that a church gave it to me in North Carolina. They were crying, the children, the pastor, the priest, and people said, "You're Jewish, how you wear that?" I said, "Get away from me." I said, "I love everybody, any religion. I love everybody, and I hope everybody loves me," which hopefully that God loves me a little bit, helps.
During the war, was your life more difficult mentally or physically? Like, were you more suffering, like, mentally with everything going on? Or was it just harder to go through your day physically?
Could you repeat that, please?
So during the war, was it difficult to, like, think? And was it hard mentally?
During the war, did you feel confused or unable to think clearly?
During the war, the only I was thinking how to have a piece of bread and how to bring my mother a piece of bread. When they gave my mother, somebody gave just 2 eggs, I was happy she made a dinner for us, which I didn't see eggs for years. So you see, I didn't know how not to be happy. I just prayed that when we come home, the whole family could get reunited, and I'm going to see my grandpa, the violin player. When I used to come to him in the village, he said, "Sit down and learn English." He spoke English perfectly. He said, "What you have?" I said, "What is English, Grandpa?" He said, "This is one day you're going to be in America," he said, "and you nearly need to know the language." I said, "What is America?" So he said, "It's a country, a prosperity country, a rich country, and you're going to be very happy if you're going to be there." Those days, I remember I was 6 years old when he was teaching me that. And you know what? It's a good thing. I learned about 30 words. When I came to the United States, at least I had a few words to say what I wanted to. But my grandfather, that's my grandfather, taught me how to do it.
What did you first do when you came to the United States?
What did you first do when you came to the United States?
Work. Finding work. Any work. Any work. If they would give me, wash the floors, clean, I would do anything. I'm always was ready for anything. But unfortunately, I had a little bit good mind without even schooling. And I started being, the first thing that I started being is importing oil paintings. I was traveling all over the world because I got married already. My husband made some money. I imported oil painting I was selling there. And then I became the makeup artist, which it was very prestigious, and you know what? Life was all right. Everything, what I was doing, it was, like I said, if I am sometimes very moody, which is very seldom happen, very upset about something, I would think about good things in life that it was for me. And I had many good things in life, even without schooling. But I don't tell you not to go to school, because it happened once in a while that somebody like me without school could do what I did. So, because I went through too much, that's why I was like that. You had to go to school.
Stay in school. It's the lesson. Yes.
When the war first started, what did you think was going to happen to you and your family?
Say again.
When the war had first started, what did you think was going to happen to you and your family?
When the war started, what do you think was going to happen to your family?
Oh, when the war started, we were running. I didn't know anything. I didn't know. I didn't know all about we're running. I don't know. You know, I was a child. My mother didn't even know too, but my mother's sister, she knew. We were running away. Where, what? The only thing we know, hunger and hunger and hunger. No food, no nothing. And that's what it really was bad for us. But I didn't know what was, I didn't know anything till I learned that after a while, what it goes on with the Germans, but they're doing it, so like my husband, he was in concentration camp. He was for 4 years in concentration in Auschwitz. His parents got killed there badly. I don't want to repeat that because if I'm going to tell how they died, it's terrible. So they died, and the two sisters and mother, and he survived with two brothers, and the other family of his, all gone. So, anyway.
What was it like rebuilding Europe after the war?
What was it like to go to Europe after the war?
To Europe?
Go to Europe?
To Europe.
Yeah. What was it like when you went after the war?
When I went back, I said that. I went back to my town, Slutsk. First of all, we went to the display camp for 4 years. Then a display camp, I was there for 4 years, and I decided to go to the army to Israel. So we 40, 50 kids went to the army to Israel. That time was Palestine. I wanted to go to the army to fight the Arabs. So I went there. 2 weeks later became Israel. So they didn't take me to the army. But I still wanted to be in the army. So I went 3 times volunteer to Israel to the army. Wearing the uniform, big crowd, with a hat, with everything. And I was there for 3 times volunteering for the army to help Israel. I mean, all the time I'm helping, doing, and I'm proud of it. I love it.
I think this is our last question.
Were there any happy moments during the war that you can look back and smile about?
Were there any happy moments during the war that you think about and smile?
And I smile.
Well, yeah, that you think
During the
about.
war?
Yes.
I don't know if I don't remember myself smiling. The only thing that I was thinking and doing is working. Getting up in the morning, go to work, think what to do next. I didn't want to work for somebody. I wanted to always to work for myself. And that's what happened. I makeup artist for 35 years. That's why I look so. You see, 93 years old. My creams did actually, And I'm proud of it. Then my jackets, I had them all over the world, all over the United States. Beautiful. Prince had one of my jackets that I'll never gonna forget, with a tiger hat, with the legs hanging down. I mean, all by myself. I did it. I'm gonna tell another thing I invented it, and then we'll finish it up. This is a thing. I wake up once in the middle of the night, and I said to myself, I want to go to the bathroom, but I cannot see it. My cousin was an inventor. He's an engineer. I called him up and I said, listen, how about to make slippers with lights? When children are going to walk, it's going to light up. So he said, no problem, I'm going to do it. I said, he did it. In one day, he did that, only slippers, because we didn't think about sneakers, but slippers. And he did that, he patented it in Washington. We didn't have nobody with money to invest to do it big. So my cousin, he just came from Russia. He didn't do nothing. He found a factory. He sold it for $10,000 the whole thing. And now, Snickers, lights everywhere, I invented it. And here I'm a poor person, somebody else has the millions, and I have got it.
Thank you very much for your attention.
Yes, thank you, Anya, for joining us today. Thank you, students, for paying such good attention and listening to an incredible story. And we have something to give you. It's just a small token of our gratitude. And it's nothing against the wonderful shirt you already have. This can go over it for when you are a little chilly. She says she'll wear it with pride. Thank you very much. So thank you again for being here, and we look forward to the conversations that I know will continue after you have gone to the next thing. So thank you so much for being with us today. One more time, everybody.
I love you all.